Well, good day, everyone, and welcome back to the next segment of The Good Word. And in this segment, we're going to go over walking on water. What does it mean to walk on water? Did someone actually walk on water? Have many people actually walked on water? Or is water a reference to something else? In the last segment, we went over papal bulls and the Holy See. And we could stick to that narrative and keep breaking down, from a micro standpoint, all these little tricks and all these little things. But for this one, we're going to take a macro view and try to dive more to the point. So we'll start first with, of course, Hawashah, everyone's favorite Jesus. And, we'll start with Matthew. You can find examples in Matthew, Mark, and the book of John, if memory serves. But for this, we're just going to go Matthew 14, 22 through 32. Then we're going to go to the predecessor, regardless of what you think and how you feel. This is plagiarism. It was plagiarized. So we're going to go to the inspirational story for Matthew 14, which of course comes from your Veda, the Buddha, the disciple of the Buddha walking on water. And then we'll just close it out with some concepts and ideas. But to start, again, this is Matthew 14, 22 through 32, and this I'll be reading out of the 1560 Geneva Bible. And straightway Hawashah compelled his disciples to enter into a ship, and to go over before him, while he sent the multitude away. And as soon as he had sent the multitude away, he went up into a mountain alone to pray. And when the evening was come, he was there alone. And the ship was now in the midst of the sea, and was tossed with waves, for it was a contrary wind. And in the fourth watch of the night, Hawashah went unto them, walking on the sea. And when his disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, Is it a spirit? And cried out for fear. But straightway Hawashah spoke unto them, saying, Be of good comfort, it is I, be not afraid. Then Peter answered him and said, Master, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee on the water. And he said, Come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Hawashah. But when he saw a mighty wind, he was afraid, and he began to sink. He cried, saying, Master, save me. So immediately Hawashah stretched forth his hand and caught him, and said to him, O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt? And as soon as they were coming to the ship, the wind ceased. And that was Matthew 14, 22 through 32. And now we're going to go again to the Buddha, the student of the Buddha. Now, south of the Swathi is a great river, on the banks of which lay a hamlet of 500 houses. Thinking of the salvation of the people, the world-honored one resolved to go to the village and preach the doctrine. Having come to the riverside, he sat down beneath a tree, and the villagers, seeing the glory of his appearance, approached him with reverence. But when he began to preach, they believed him not. And when the world-honored Buddha had left Svati, Sariputta felt a desire to see the Lord and to hear him preach. Coming to the river where the water was deep and the current strong, he said to himself, "This stream shall not prevent me. I shall go and see the Blessed One." And he stepped upon the water, which was firm under his feet. And when he got to the middle of the stream, where the waves were at their highest, Sariputta's heart gave way, and he began to sink. But rousing his faith and renewing his mental effort, he proceeded as before and reached the other bank. The people of the village were so astonished to see Sariputta, and they asked how he could cross the stream when there was neither a bridge nor a ferry. And Sariputta replied, "I lived in ignorance until I heard the voice of the Buddha. As I was anxious to hear the doctrine of salvation, I crossed the river and I walked over its troubled waters because I had faith. Faith, nothing else, enabled me to do so. And now I am here in the bliss of the Master's presence." And to this the Buddha added, "Sariputta, thou hast spoken well. Faith like thine alone can save the world from the yawning gulf of migration and enable men to walk dry shod to the other shore." And the Blessed One urged the villagers the necessity of ever advancing in the conquest of sorrow and of casting off all shackles so as to cross the river of worldliness and attain deliverance from death. And now, as we look at these two entries, we see the same thing in both. First you have Sariputta, whose determination and desire and focus allowed him to step on the water and not sink. He stepped on the water and it was firm as the ground, because he was focused, because he had desire, and because he had will. And you'll see the same thing, even though you're giving it's more of a subjective point of view when you're coming from your New Testament, because again, the whole point, whereas the point still remains, to enlighten you and to let to give you the realization that it is simply will, focus, and direction. Hold these things and you can do the impossible is the message. But again, I digress. As we look at the Old Testament, you see Peter, where he did not have the will or the focus of Sariputta. He had the faith in this presence, if you will, that was before him. He believed that if this presence could walk on water, and this presence bid him to come out onto the water, then he could walk on water. And sure enough, as the text says, Peter walked on water. And again, in both instances, it was at the moment that these disciples broke their focus. You know, they were not focused on, Sariputta was no longer focused on getting to the other side, to hear Buddha, to be in the presence of Buddha. And he noticed that the water under him is the deepest and the waves are the largest here. He broke his focus. And the same with Peter. You know, he was walking fine on the water. He was heading towards his goal. But he took his eyes off his goal, and now he's looking around, and he sees waves and wind gust. And he allowed fear to come in. And in both cases, it was this introduction of fear that made both of the disciples start to sink. Thus again, we can look at the micro versions and we can break all of this down to we can break it all the way down, but you know, for this, let's take more of a macro view and realize, you know, these are directions for you. If you were to read the Vedas, you know, it's a lot more obvious, because again, they're not necessarily trying to subjugate, at least not as much as this New Testament that we've been given. However, you know, should we be able to remove the shackles? Should we be able to step out on our own faith? We can cross the rivers. You know, as if we go back to Sariputta, you know, I crossed the river and I walked over its troubled waters because I had faith. Faith, nothing else, enabled me to do so. And now I am here in the bliss of the Master's presence. You know, hold that faith. When he started to sink, you know, there was no one there for him to reach out to. He had to refocus himself. You know, it says Sariputta's heart gave way and he began to sink. But rousing his faith and renewing his mental effort, he proceeded as before. So he recollected his faith. He regained his focus. He stopped paying attention to how deep the water was. He stopped paying attention to how tall the waves were. You know, he literally, he removed the shackles. He advanced in the conquest of sorrow, advancing in the conquest of sorrow. essentially he did not allow fear to control him. He utilized sorrow. You know, sorrow, pain, hurt, embarrassment, all these things we felt, and we try to hide, you know, because we're trying to prove that you know, we're tough. We don't have these emotions. We don't feel these emotions. But in truth, everybody who presents that, you know, you are the most broken. You are stuck in sorrow, in pain, and embarrassment. But if you would realize that these things are nothing to be embarrassed of, you've existed in these things for so long because they are powerful. And once you realize what they truly are, you know, these are not chains of subjugation. These are tools. You wield them as you see fit. You know, thus you become the alchemist. You could take sorrow and pain and hurt and embarrassment, and from that forge the strongest faith that cannot be shaken or broken by anything. You know, that is advancing in the conquest of sorrow. And in doing that, and then casting off all shackles, these are all the false beliefs. These are all the things that detract you from your goal. These are the people that, you know, you probably regret now sharing your ideas with, taking your hopes and desires to. Because instead of being true and helping you to achieve those goals regardless of what they were, they immediately brought doubt. They brought fear. They brought shame. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're doing. You shouldn't be doing that. You should be doing this. You need church. You need Jesus. You need this. You need that. You need to be doing what they said. These are the shackles. And I'm sorry, this is probably going to hurt to hear, but your grandparents and your mother and your father, your uncles and your aunties, your best friends, your lovers, these are the shackles. As we went over last time, the definition of the Holy See. What is the Holy See? And as we look here, you know, and it speaks of the river of worldliness. These things, these that are given as water, are not truly water. These are the things that surround you. These are the Masonic tricks, the magic boxes they put you in. Again, these are the people that this world told you are the best for you and have only your best interests at heart. When in truth, 9 times out of 10, it's totally the opposite. These people will not allow you to exceed past them. These are the shackles. So to remove these false beliefs, these ideals that have been placed on you from someone else, are the shackles. This is the sorrow, this is the pain, this is the embarrassment. These are the ties that bind. However, they cannot hold you unless you allow. They can bring you fear and hurt and all of these different things over and over and over, repeatedly. But it isn't until you take your eye off your goal that fear sinks in. It isn't until you start to believe, well, maybe they're right, I can't do it. Oh, you start to sink. You were so sure just a minute ago. But now, it's sinking and it's fading fast. Now you got that knot in your stomach. And now you feel embarrassment as, you know, there's this loving person who is on your side. Not only did they not take your side, not only did they didn't even try to, well, I don't think it'll work like that. Let's come up with a better plan. No, they immediately turned into Agent Smith. And they hit you with fear, which broke your focus, and now you're sinking. So no more allow that to be. And I used all of those examples, you know, I should hope for as many as possible that those who surround us, you know, our mothers and fathers, aunties and uncles, grandparents, lovers, friends, those closest to us, would offer support, you know, even in places where they can't see this vision with their eye. You know, I would hope that these people, the people that you have behind you, will still back you. Well, maybe I can't see it, but that doesn't mean it can't be done. I would hope that you have these people behind you. But if you don't, you know, take the macro view. Stop looking micro. Stay focused on your goal. And when focus is broken from your goal, use all of these things, all of these again. Remember, your pain, your hurt, your sorrow, your embarrassment. These are all powerful, powerful emotions, which is why you can still feel them. Something that happened 10 years ago. If you get into processing that and remembering that, you can bring all that pain forth like it just happened 5 minutes ago. And now you can wallow in that, and you can get depressed, and you can be sad, or you can utilize it. You can take that, all of those negative feelings and emotions, and use them to put you back on your focus. In fact, you can utilize them to make it so your focus can never be shaken or broken again. And you know, that is the point I want to leave here today with. You know, many of us walk on water, have walked on water, and will walk on water again. You know, if your faith cannot be shaken, you walk on water. If you will remove the chains placed on you and walk your own path, you walk on water. If you can not get caught up in the thoughts of others, truth, if we look at it, most doubt comes from within. So if you cannot get caught up in your own tide, and you can keep your focus and your thoughts above water, you're walking on water. So in looking at this and thinking about this, how many times have you walked on water? How many of you walked on water today? How many of you are literally, wherever you're standing, sitting, driving, wherever you are listening to this, how many of you are in fact walking on water right now as you are standing, sitting, driving, doing whatever it is you're doing, listening to this? Understand, overstand, and understand these concepts, and realize these are your gifts, these are your powers. And you've always had them.